Its stained glass windows were cracked, its bell long silent, and its doors had been nailed shut since the early 90s. People passed it on their morning jogs or evening dog walks, casting it brief glances, not out of fear, but indifference. No one expected anything of that place anymore. Until the man came. He arrived in the fall. No one saw him move in, but by mid-October, a dusty old pickup truck with military plates had made its home out front. And each morning at 6 a.m. sharp, before the sun fully stretched its arms across the horizon, he was there, sweeping the front steps, boarding the broken windows, hauling in wood and supplies. The locals called him the handyman, but he didn't speak to anyone. He wore a battered leather jacket with a faded army patch and walked with a limp that suggested the weight of more than just time. His hair was white, buzzed close like he'd never let go of the barracks. His face was weathered and stone still, except when he worked. Then something softened, like the muscles remembered joy. Most assumed he was just another loner. Kids made up ghost stories about him, that he was building a bunker or hiding secrets inside the church walls. But no one ever asked, except Claire. Claire Bennett was 17 and tired of everything. Tired of her small town, of her mother's long shifts at the diner, of her stepfather's beer breath. She spent her afternoons riding her rusted bike along the outer neighborhoods, looking for anything different, anything that felt real. The church did. So one afternoon, curiosity burned hotter than caution. She stopped her bike, leaned it against the rusted fence, and walked up the cracked path. The man was sanding a wooden beam, sawdust dancing in the air around him. He didn't look up. Claire cleared her throat. "Hey," he paused. "I was wondering what you're building." Silence. Claire shifted. "It's kind of cool you're fixing it up." Finally, he looked at her. His eyes were gray, not dull, but heavy, like they carried a sky full of storm clouds. "You shouldn't be here," he said. It's not safe." And with that, he turned back to his work. Claire blinked. Most grown-ups either ignored her or tried to police her. This one dismissed her entirely, which made her more interested. The next day, she came back. So did he. Over the next few weeks, she returned almost every afternoon. She didn't always talk. Sometimes she just sat nearby and watched. Other times, she brought snacks and left them quietly. He never thanked her, but the food was always gone the next day. Eventually, he spoke. "You got school?" "I skip sometimes." "You shouldn't." Claire shrugged. "Doesn't matter." The handyman set down his hammer. "You got a name?" "Claire," he nodded. "Jackson." Jackson never explained much, but Claire noticed the care he took in every movement. This wasn't just a renovation, it was a mission. "What are you building?" she asked again. Jackson didn't answer. Instead, he walked into the church and returned with a binder. Inside were sketches, diagrams, handwritten letters. Claire flipped through them. They weren't for pews. They were for a memorial. "Operation Iron Silence," she read. Jackson's eyes went distant. "That was our mission. Cambodia, off the books. 6 of us went in, only I came back." Claire swallowed. "They never recognized it?" "Nope." He stared at the stained glass. "So I'm building something that will." Winter came early. Still, Jackson worked. Even as snow dusted the roof and frost kissed the tools, he built. Claire helped now. Sometimes she painted. Other times she read his old letters, dispatches, poems scribbled in margins. Each page felt sacred. The town began to notice. Locals donated wood. The hardware store gave supplies. Even the mayor came by. Jackson didn't speak much, but Claire acted as his voice. By February, the interior of the church was transformed. The altar had become a black marble wall, engraved with 6 names. Above it, a hand-carved emblem, an eagle wrapped in barbed wire. In the center, a wooden box held 6 dog tags, replicas Claire helped create. But the most powerful feature was the light. Each morning, just after sunrise, a beam of light hit the wall exactly where the names were carved. Jackson had spent weeks adjusting the angles. It was precise, and it was beautiful. One Sunday, the town gathered. No flyer, no invite. But they came. Jackson stood at the front, just his jacket. He looked at Claire. Then he spoke. "No one remembers us unless we remind them. So I built something that can't be ignored." And as the sun rose, The beam of light poured in, hitting the names, lighting up the room. Some cried, some saluted. Claire just smiled. She finally understood what he was building. Spring crept into the town like a soft hymn, thawing snow and stirring the bones of the old streets. The church, once a husk of forgotten prayers, now stood as something else entirely, sacred, not because of faith, but because of memory. Jackson had begun sealing the floors and polishing the hand-carved benches. The place smelled of wood oil and quiet reverence. Claire came by almost every day, brushing past the lilac bloom outside the fence, holding new letters, sometimes visitors' notes. People had started dropping them off, notes of thanks, names of loved ones who never came home. One afternoon, Claire found Jackson sitting in the back pew, not working, just staring. "Something wrong?" she asked. Jackson nodded slowly. "It's almost done." She sat beside him. "That's a good thing." "I thought so too." He glanced at the altar. "But when it's done, it means they're gone." Claire understood. This wasn't just a building. It was the last mission of a soldier who refused to forget. That week, a package arrived at the town hall from a return address labeled Department of Military Records, Archive Division. Inside was a faded manila envelope with 6 medals and a letter. The letter read, "We have verified the unofficial Operation Iron Silence and acknowledge the extraordinary service of those involved. Enclosed are posthumous commendations for Staff Sergeant Mason, Lieutenant O'Reilly, Corporal Vance, Private Cordova, Sergeant Lucky James, and Specialist Ames." Jackson didn't speak for a long time after reading it. Then he whispered, "They finally see them." That evening, he brought the medals to the church. Instead of locking them away, he embedded each medal in a handcrafted plaque made from reclaimed wood. He placed it near the altar, under the stained glass window. That night, he stayed longer than usual. He lit a candle for each of them and placed them by the wall with their names. Then he sat, hands clasped together, whispering stories no one else had ever heard. Claire, returning to check on him, stood at the doorway, unnoticed. He spoke softly to the empty air. "I remember the way Vance used to hum during night patrols. And how Lucky James would always take the rear, said that was the Guardian's place. They were all better men than me." Claire didn't interrupt. She just listened, realizing she wasn't just witnessing grief. She was witnessing communion. The town declared Memorial Day as the date of the official unveiling. It was to be called the Iron Silence Memorial. Claire made the flyers. The local high school volunteered to sing. The town's newspaper printed a full-page article titled "The Church That Remembers." A documentary crew even called, asking if they could film the ceremony. Jackson declined. "It's not about cameras," he said, but he allowed a single photographer from the local paper, someone who knew how to shoot silence. The day arrived with a perfect sunrise. Chairs were lined across the old lot. Flags fluttered in the wind. Veterans from nearby towns came wearing full uniform. Claire's mom brought lemonade. The mayor stood at the ready with a ribbon and a speech. A young boy carried a trumpet. He was barely 10. "I want to play for them," he told Jackson. Jackson knelt, eyes kind. "Then play from the heart." Jackson, dressed in his leather jacket, walked to the altar one last time before the crowd arrived. He ran his hand across the wall, whispered their names, and then stepped back. When the sun hit the glass at exactly 6:42 a.m., a beam pierced through the colored panes and landed right on the names, just as he planned. The crowd went silent. Then, one by one, the veterans in attendance saluted. Some cried, some stood with hands over hearts, some whispered prayers. The young boy began to play taps. Claire watched Jackson as his eyes misted, the only time she'd ever seen him show weakness. But it wasn't weakness. It was release. That night, after the ceremony ended and the crowd dispersed, Claire returned to the church. The doors were still open. The air inside felt warm. She found a note on the pew. "Claire, you gave them a voice again. I was just the hands. I'm heading west. There's another place that's forgotten. Thank you. Jackson." She ran outside, hoping to catch him, But the truck was already gone. All that remained was the echo of a man who never asked for glory, only remembrance. And the church, his church, stood taller than ever. Every morning as the town woke, the first light still poured through the windows, right onto 6 names. And now, every time someone walked by, they stopped, even if just for a moment. Because some legacies don't shout, some are built, one board, one nail, one beam of light at a time.